Okay, so in the last video, I went through how to factor x squared minus x minus 6 using guess and check and the middle out method. I then said that I would get into a more complicated problem below. There was a small error on this problem that I added. It should have been minus 4y squared. And now that we have this, we can go ahead and approach this problem. Now, one thing worth noting is that you can use guess and check to solve this problem, but it will be substantially harder than using the middle out method. So in this problem, I will be using only the middle out method to factor here. So to start it off, remember that the first step is to take your first term and your last term and multiply them together. 3x squared times 4y squared gives us 12x squared y squared. And now from here, we want to find all of our double multiples that give us 12x squared y squared. So each term is going to have an xy with it. And we'll start it off. Always start with 1, so we have 1xy, and 1 times 12 gives us 12, so 12xy. Then 2xy with 6xy, 3xy with 4xy. And now that we've gone to two numbers that are right next to each other, the list will just flip. Meaning we'll have 4xy with 3xy, then 6xy with 2xy, and finally 12xy with 1xy. These are all of our possible combinations. And with these combinations, we now want to check the sign that was attached to our last term. Because this is a minus, we will again be subtracting every one of these combinations. If that were a plus, then we would be adding all of them together, and every term would have the sign of the middle term, just like when we did our method earlier with guess and check. So just to quickly show that, if this were a positive, then every one of these would be a positive, and every term would be positive because our middle term is positive. But since that is not the case, we'll go back to what we originally had, and because this is a minus, we are subtracting. Okay. So with this subtraction, we want to find what combination will give us our middle term, this positive 11xy. So when we subtract our first combination, we get negative 11xy. And the only thing wrong with this is that it's negative instead of positive. So that immediately tells us we can skip the rest of these tests and go to the last one, because 12xy minus 1xy will give us positive 11xy. Now we can apply the middle out method. We're replacing this middle term, the 11xy. So we have 3x squared, and instead of 11xy, we will replace it with 12xy, or plus 12xy, since the 12xy is positive, minus 1xy minus 4y squared. And now we can again apply factor by grouping. We're going to group each pair together, and remember to always group that negative inside the parentheses and put a positive on the outside. And now we'll find what's common between 3x squared and 12xy. Each of them is divisible by a 3, as well as an x, giving us 3x times the quantity of 3x squared divided by 3x is x, plus 12xy divided by 3x is 4y, plus the quantity, oh, I apologize, not the quantity yet, plus, now we have to decide what's being factored out, and we can factor out a common negative, because each term is negative, and a y, because each term has a y. So we get a plus negative y times negative 1xy divided by negative y is just x, and negative 4y squared divided by negative y is plus 4y. And now this is good news because we just got the matching terms in parentheses, which means we can bring one of them down, x plus 4y, and add the terms on the outside, 3x plus negative y, or just minus y. And that is the completely factored form of 3x squared plus 11xy minus 4y squared. Again, this problem was doable with guess and check, and if you prefer it that way, it's perfectly fine, but this is a much easier approach to dealing with problems of this nature.